Hold your dick for 1 second, you fungal rim job.
Hey everyone, Jarek here. Judging by my YouTube comments in my Twitch chat, people have really mixed opinions about Bulletstorm. About 70% of my chat was saying how much they loved the game and how they would love to see another one, and then the remaining 30% is arguing with those people about how it wasn't a good game and that they shouldn't enjoy it. Come on people, just let people enjoy the games they like. Considering Bulletstorm came out almost 10 years ago, ended on a cliffhanger, and we still don't have a new one, leads me to believe that we probably never will, which is a shame because Bulletstorm is a really fun game. But before we talk about Bulletstorm, we have to talk about its marketing campaign. Before Bulletstorm came out, they released something for free called Duty Calls. Yes, it's what it sounds like, it's a parody of Call of Duty.
I am an enemy.
Boring. Rank up! Master Sergeant Shooter Person!
I would buy a full game like this. I still quote that to this day. 2011 was still the height of the Call of Duty craze, and Bulletstorm was advertising itself as an old school shooter and not the new modern military shooters.
I am an enemy too. Bloody scream! So real.
The only problem with that advertising is that it's a bit misleading. Sure, it has a lot of old school stuff, but it's more of a mix between old and new. It's not really like raw old school shooters. As for the game itself, you have two ways to play it today. The first way is the original game that came out in 2011, and the second way is the Full Clip Edition, which came out in 2017. The Full Clip Edition is out on PC, Xbox One, PS4, and even as of August 2019, the Switch. It's a remastered version of Bulletstorm, but to be honest, it's a straight up downgrade visually. So you made it look worse and then shoved a bunch of bloom and filters on it? Why? There wasn't really any reason to remaster Bulletstorm to begin with if you're playing on PC. The game came out only 6 years before the remastered version came out. It's not like the original game looked bad by today's standards. Sure, it doesn't look as good as a new game, but it really didn't need to be quote-unquote remastered. You might be asking, well, what did they add into this remastering? And honestly, not a whole lot. It's pretty much just the original Bulletstorm, but on newer gen consoles, and it looks worse. They did add one thing, and that's the ability to play through the Bulletstorm campaign as Duke Nukem, which is entertaining in its own right.
God damn, what's wrong with your face?
But this is $5 DLC. Why does this cost anything? This should be an extra bonus to make you want to buy the remastering. And speaking of, the remastered edition is 40 bucks. Why is this $40? Who in their right mind would do any of this? Oh, okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense now. Fucking Gearbox, man. If there's any drama happening in the video game world, they're probably behind it. If you're on PC and you own the original version, there's no reason to buy this version. I can understand wanting this on the PS4 and Xbox One compared to the 360 and PS3 for a better resolution and so that it runs better, but on PC, you didn't really have any of those problems, so why would you rebuy the game when the new version just looks worse? Oh wait, it's because you can't buy the original on Steam anymore. You're forced to buy this $40 remastered version on Steam. Thanks, Gearbox. Thanks. I did what any logical person would do, and I went to G2A and bought a key for $6. I know I'm going to get those comments saying, oh, don't buy from G2A. Yeah, don't buy from G2A. I agree with that, but here's the alternative, giving Gearbox 40 bucks. Anyway, with all that bullshit out of the way, let's actually talk about the game now. In Bulletstorm, you play as Grayson Hunt, voiced by Steve Bloom. Typically, I'm a little thrown off when Steve Bloom does voice acting. Not because he's a bad voice actor, he isn't, he's a great voice actor. But a lot of games typecast him into the same person. So when I'm listening to a character talk as Steve Bloom, I'm hearing Steve Bloom, not that character. Thankfully, this is not the case in Bulletstorm. Steve Bloom does a fantastic job with his character, and I am hearing Grayson Hunt, not Steve Bloom. At the beginning of Bulletstorm, you come across a large ship owned by the General Serrano. Grayson and his squad used to work for Serrano back in the day. Grayson found out that Serrano was having him do hits on innocent civilians. This obviously didn't go over well, to say the least. They split apart, and now Grayson really wants revenge. Revenge is probably the wrong word to use. He more so wanted atonement than anything else. So when Serrano shows up, instead of running away like any logical person would, he decides to take them both down. They both crash land on a hostile planet, and you have to find a way to get off this world. In the process, your entire squad dies with the exception of one, Ishii. Ishii still almost died and ends up turning into half cyborg. The AI understands that Grayson is irresponsible, but the human side of him still exists, and he's fighting between those two. Now, I didn't remember being that invested in the story when I played this game back in the day. In fact, what I remembered was more stuff like this.
Identify yourself or I will open fire!
Oh, listen, lady, please! We've been stuck here forever!
Help us get an evac off-world!
Yeah? Go fuck yourself! You shitpiles give chase, I will kill your dicks!
What? What does that even mean? You're gonna kill my dick? Well, I'll kill your dick! How about that, huh?
Speaking of dick-killing parties.
Okay, come on, don't act like you're better than that. Immaturity can be funny. I laughed at it, you laughed at it. The funny thing is that even though the dialogue is stupid and immature and childish, the characters do have depth to them, and you do empathize with them. With the exception of the antagonist, I can't really look over this. Serrano is just obnoxious as all hell.
Do I look like a fucking tour guide? Them slanty devil eyes of yours don't see so good, huh?
Now I know he's supposed to be not likable, he's the main villain of the game, but he's just constantly spewing racism and insults left and right in a way that just seems bad even for this game. To make things worse, you end up escorting him for what feels like an entire quarter of the game. This drags on for way too long, and you don't even get a payoff. The game ends in to be continued. Nice, we don't get any resolve, you don't get to kill the guy that's just being obnoxious as fuck, and the game just kind of ends. We'll never have a sequel. The entire story is pretty good, but god damn, I hate this character. But okay, what about the gameplay? That's probably the part you actually want to hear about. I remember playing this game back in the day and enjoying it, but not really being thrilled with it. Just kind of thinking it was fun, I guess. It's a lot more fun now, I don't know what happened. I feel like everyone was in that modern military craze back then, and if they played it now, they would enjoy it a lot more. The best way I can describe this game is Gears of War movement in first person meets some of the guns from Singularity, plus its own unique blend that doesn't feel like anything else. Really though, you probably notice the similarities between this game and Gears of War's aesthetic. I mean, the main machine gun looks like the Lancer. Some of the guns feel like they were almost directly ripped from Singularity though, which came out just a year prior. I'm not actually complaining about this, the games feel unique enough to where this isn't really a bad thing. They also have their own twists, like for example with the sniper, when you upgrade it, once you shoot an enemy you can steer the enemy into the other enemies and make them blow up. Awesome. Very early on in the game, you get what is called a leash, and this leash is your best friend. You can use this thing to pull enemies toward you, you can use this thing to pull explosive towards you, you can use this thing to grab weapons. When you upgrade it, you can use this thing to lift someone in the air and slam them into the ground, which will send all of the enemies into the air. You can also use this thing to access drop pods, which is how you get more ammo and upgrades for your weapons. And these upgrades are so much fun. They range from simple things like having an incredibly strong charge shot with the machine gun and the shotgun that eviscerates people, to things like shooting an explosive ball that will bounce and explode every time it bounces, which you can then use your leash to pull over to you or kick at other enemies. This game got incredibly creative with the weapons, and that's definitely one of the highlights. They're a lot of fun to play with. But what's your currency? How do you unlock these? Well, you get your currency by doing skill shots. Along with the leash, you have an all-powerful kick, which rivals that of Might and Messiah. There's endless hazards on the map that you can kick any of the enemies into. Stab them on steel spikes, kick them off cliffs, electrocute them, do whatever you want. The game just sort of throws you into a multiplayer arena, gives you a bunch of enemies and says kill them in whatever way you want. We'll give you a bunch of points that'll flash up and make you feel good. And you will get a lot of points. Getting the upgrades will never be a problem because you're always killing. The one real downside I can say about Bulletstorm is that it uses a regenerating health system, which kind of is counterintuitive to the whole old school thing they were talking about. They want you to do a bunch of ridiculous stuff, but if your health is low, you gotta sit behind cover for a short period of time until you can go back to killing. It's not a big deal, but it definitely ruins the pace of the game whenever your health is low. And I think this is why people can be so negative towards Bulletstorm. They advertise it as an old school shooter, but it's very clearly new school meets old school. As I said, the movement really does feel like Gears of War in first person. It's somewhat clunky and you cannot jump. You do have an awesome slide that goes for a long time and will send enemies into the air when you hit them, although your friendlies have an incredibly obnoxious habit of stepping in your way, stopping your slide. Point being, you have a burst movement option that is a lot of fun, adds to your combat, and can help you get around. So you don't feel quite as clunky as something like, say, Gears of War, and there is no cover mechanic. The only downside of this is that sprint and slide is on the same button. You double tap sprint to slide, and I don't know why they couldn't have just separated this. I mean, my spacebar is literally not being used because I put sprint to shift. Why not just have sprint be shift and then space slide? There's no jump. It's not like you couldn't have made this work with controllers either, so I don't know why they didn't do this. But those are really my only complaints. I don't like the main antagonist of the game, and the game doesn't feel quite as old school as they advertised, but I don't really see that as being a negative thing. The game is fun just as it is. Really, I do think if you go back and play Bulletstorm today, you are going to have a lot more fun with it now than you did back in 2011. I don't know why this is, but again, I genuinely enjoyed this game more today than back then. But anyway, that's about all I have to say about Bulletstorm. Thank all of you that showed up on my Twitch. People really seem to like this game. I got more views than I usually did. If you want to come join me in the future, my Twitch is twitch.tv/Jarek4GamingDragon. If you subscribe, you get to see my videos early, ahead of time. Thank all of you for watching, and I will see you next video.